Good morning, everyone. I hope everybody's having a great day and enjoy the little rain that we have received. My name is Saressa Hartwell, and I am with the State Water Resources Control Board. I am a marketing coordinator. And on behalf of the California Financial Coordinating Committee, we welcome you to our fall funding fair. If you are here seeking funding or seeking information about funding for your projects, you are in the correct place. To give you an overview of the day, we're going to have presentations, and between the state and federal agencies, we'll have a small break. Then after the break, we'll have the federal agencies will start their presentations, and then after their presentations, we'll have an evaluation, a little feedback about your experience today. That link will be posted in the chat, and we would have really appreciated if you took that so that we can understand your experience and see if we can enhance that experience. And then the virtual booth will open up. This is the agenda for today. It also will be in the chat. As I said, we're going to start with state funding resources. We're going to have a great overview of the California Grants Portal. And then we're going to have our state and local agencies present. Then we'll have a small break. Then we'll have the another overview of the federal funding resources of their grants. And then we're going to have the federal agencies present, and then we'll have the evaluation at that time. At the same time, we'll open up the virtual booth. Speaking of the virtual booth, at the bottom of your screen, and when it's opened up, there's going to be 4 buttons at the bottom. You just press that, and then there's going to be the breakout rooms with all the agencies with their agency name next to it. So you can go in and out. You have you can do it on your own. You can go into any of the agency's room, and then you can come back to the main room and then go back again. So you have that option to go in and out. And that is where you're going to have the opportunity to speak with the program staff directly, because there's not going to be any question and answers after each presentation. So if you have a question, we want you to go into the breakout rooms and ask the agencies directly about your concerns or your project or eligibility, any kind of questions that you have. Before we begin that, though, I would like to take a poll of the audience so I get to know who's here. So let me start that. There are about 8 questions here on the poll. Just answer it, and then we can move on. But we really appreciate all that. Take poll. I know I say this every time, get so nervous because I don't ever see any answers go through. They are coming through now. Oh, by the way, if you have an other on the questions that there are others, if you could put the other in the chat so we know how you heard about it or your agency or any type of information that we don't have listed here, we would really appreciate it if you put the other in the chat. Oh, good. We have a representative from the tribes. You always welcome them. There's all type of information specific for you. Oh, and we also have those that are representing underserved communities. We also have lots of funding for that type of agency. And what I'm enjoying the most is this is the first time for a lot of people. I am so glad to hear that, because CFCC has been doing this since 1998. So the fact that there are a lot of people who say, yes, this is their first time is really uplifting. They're letting more people in. So as you are coming in and settling in, we are taking an attendee poll. We just want to get to know who's here and what you're seeking at the funding fair today. So we'll give it a few more minutes so that you can have an opportunity to participate in the poll. We have a university here. Oh, wonderful. Well, I do not. I'll give it another 10 seconds, I suppose. Okay, then I'll stop now. I don't see any more answers going through, and oh, there's some more coming in. As I was saying, for those who are now entering, we are taking an attendee poll, trying to get a feel of who's here and what you're looking for and how you heard about it. So we just appreciate it if you can take a quick moment to take the poll. Well, okay, I will end the poll now. Oh, I'm letting some of these others. There's a whole lot of others out there. I appreciate that you are putting that in the chat. That gives us an opportunity to see how we can further reach out to get more people involved in what we're doing here. So I'm going to end the poll. And start my screen. Okay. At our website, you can have access to the handbook and the presentations and the recordings. Yes, all the agenda is in the chat, but the handbook, I can show you how to get to that. This is our website at www.cfcc.ca.gov. Right here is where you can find the handbook. This is our 2024 handbook. This gives you a little information about our mission statement, and why we are doing this, who we are, who should attend, what type of eligible projects. This is the content that all the state agencies who have information inside the handbook. And how we did it this year is that we have this new lovely table here about the funding program opportunities, the funding purpose, eligible applicants, any special conditions, a deadline, and contact information. This table for each of the agencies, or what is open right now today, where you can see what type of funding is available right today with each agencies. So you can see that throughout the handbook. Also on this page, we have what we call a funding inquiry form. If you look at this, there's a PDF, and this is the same thing. This form you fill out, give a brief information about who you are, what you're looking for. And then when you hit this button here, it will go to iBank, and they will distribute that amongst the agencies to see if anyone has any kind of funding that could help you out here. So this is a really great form to use at any time, because the CFCC funding website is up 24/7. So if in the middle of the night you say, oh, I have something I can think about, you can go ahead and fill out this form and send it in, and we'll get that information out to the rest of the group. Also, this is over here where you'll find the funding fairs video. This is from our spring, May 24th to May 29th. There may have been other agencies that presented then, but who are not presenting now. So if you ever want to go back and look at those recordings, you can. Down here is the slide presentation. Again, this is the one from, these are slides from our May funding fair. This fall funding fair is going to be posted at the end of the funding fair, so you can get the most recent thumbnails of all the presentations, but this is where you can go and get thumbnails of the presentation. This is also where you can go and get, like I said, the slides if you want to. Also on this button, we call infrastructure funding programs. These are all the agencies here that have infrastructure funding. A lot of them will be speaking about that today. So you can go here and see who it is and click on their link, go directly to their page. Also over here on additional funding programs, this is where we have different places where you can click on, and like this is the California Grants Portal. Like I said, we will be having a presentation, an overview of how to navigate that. Also, we have the federal grants program. Again, if you hit there and go down to the very bottom of the screen, this is where you'll find the grants portal, where they have the funding information from the federal government. And we also will have a person, presenter, giving you an overview of how to navigate that. So those are the things that I wanted to show you on our website, so that you can have the opportunity to visit this website at any time. Any upcoming funding fairs will be here. Any upcoming information will also be on this page. Let me stop sharing this and start sharing my other page. Okay. So now we're going to begin with our first presenter, which is Shafani. She's from the State Library, and she is the one who's going to give us an overview of how to navigate the California Grant Portal.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having me today. I am Shivani Bosparala. I'm the lead over California Grants Portal, grants.ca.gov. As you all must have heard, there's a federal grants.gov, so gets a little close enough, but make sure you put CA if you're looking for state administered grant opportunities on grants.ca.gov. This is the portal, and I wanted to walk you guys through some of the ways of how to navigate this tool. Hopefully this is useful for you to take it back to your community and other colleagues that might be able to use this resource to find grant opportunities in the same central place from the state of California. So with that said, before we get started about how to navigate, just a little bit of quick note on what this is and how it came about. It was driven by a legislation, AB 2252. So it basically asked the state agencies to enter all grant opportunities, including that are competitive, first come, first serve, including loans and federal assistance funds. So as long as they're competitive and they are falling under that definition, they are on the grants portal, or they're supposed to be on the grants portal. At the same time, they go live on department's website. So if an RFA goes live, they're supposed to make sure that it is open on the grants portal for everyone else to be able to find and then apply if they're eligible for it. So again, this is kind of the first place for you to be able to find all eligible grant opportunities, hopefully in one central place. With that said, there's an expansion to this legislation that came a little bit later on in 2022, where now state agencies are required to give us post-award information. So who got awarded, how much money, whether they were nonprofit, public agency, and so forth. So that information is also here for only grants that closed on and after July 1, 2022. So just note that it's only for those grants since 2022, okay? With that said, on the homepage, you can actually navigate different ways. So you can select who you are as an organization. So you can say, I'm a business, whether that's a small business or any size of business. Individual, nonprofit, so nonprofit includes all nonprofits. Other legal entity, public agencies, local governments, special districts, K-12, higher education, and tribal government. Okay, so you can select who you are, You can also select a category. In this case, if you're looking for all grants that are environment and water, you will select environment and water. The reason why we have such a broad categories is to assist you to get all opportunities in that bucket rather than having it very streamlined where you might miss some of the opportunities that may not be in the search. So if you select all environment and water, it'll give you a broad search, but then you can, weave through them and see which one's more appropriate for your organization to apply. You can also search by time frame. So if you're a nonprofit or an organization that has limited resources to apply, you may not want to see grant opportunities that are closing in a week, possibly, right? So you might want to stretch out your filter and look for grant opportunities that are closing in a month or 3 months, 6 months, and 1 year. So this is driven from the data that's entered by the state agencies. So once you've done the filtering here, you can do show me opportunities. And this is a small set of filters. I'll show you advanced filter, which will give you more keyword search and so forth. Down here, you can search by categories, again, by the organization. You can also see recently posted grant opportunities. So it kind of gives you an idea how often the grant opportunities are entered. So again, all grant opportunities that are entered by the state agencies that are administering the grants, regardless of funding source. So it could be a state funded or federal funded. As long as it falls under the definition, it needs to be on the grants portal. Here are some statistics here. There are 165 grant opportunities that are currently open for application or upcoming. And there's $21 billion available in funding in those 165 grant opportunities. And 3 were added last week. Okay, so just to kind of give you a sense of how this works. So let's say if you wanted to do advanced filter, right? You don't think these are appropriate to search for what you're looking for, and you really want to use keyword search. So you can go to find grants here, or you can say, show me everything, one of those. So we'll do find grants. It'll take you to this page. Here you can do advanced filtering. So you can actually search for climate related grants, let's say. Just note, you want to make sure it's the keyword that you put in, it drives from anything that's in the text. So let's say climate is mentioned in the title of the grant, or it's mentioned in the description, or any text by the state agency, it's gonna find that in the result, okay? So it's gonna find everything that is climate related at this moment. So right now I have selected forecast and active, which is the default of the setting. You can select closed. If let's say forecasted active, you apply a filter and there's nothing that shows up, doesn't mean that it never had anything related to climate. It just means that right now it may not have anything open, right? So you might want to select close and apply filter to see what was closed recently. Just to kind of give you an idea, there might be something that's similar that might come out next year if the budget allows for that state agency. So that's a way to double check if your keyword's really working, if you don't see any results here. So I'm going to apply filter here just to give you an idea. Here is 32 grants that are currently forecasted and active, right? So they're either upcoming or they are open for application. So forecasted means it's not open for application yet, but it may open in the future. So you have an outlook to see, okay, I want to keep track of this one specifically, right? It might open up in the future. Forecasted are not mandated by the legislation, so therefore the state agencies are not required to put those forecasted grants. So you may not see upcoming for all kinds of grants, okay? So, but active, they are required. So in other words, if it's open for application, they are required to post it on the portal, okay? Let's say this grant is something that you really are looking at the title, you're like, huh, that's interesting. I want to look a little bit more into it, but I don't want to leave this page and lose my search. So you go to more info. It gives you a purpose, a small summary of what this grant's about, who's eligible for it. So you can see right away if your organization falls under eligibility criteria, any geographic limitations or exemptions that might be listed here. Let's say this is something you want to read a little bit more than just a small little brief description. You can go to view full grant, and it will give you the entire description, how much money is available, any kind of other limitations or requirements. And then if you are ready to look at the RFA, NOFA, or RFP, you want to select grant guidelines. That will take you to the department's website, okay, to read more about it before you apply. So everything is applied through the department's process. So we don't host application like grants.gov does. So you still have to go through the department's process. One other neat thing about all the grants is, per the legislation, state agencies are required to give us a phone number and an email. So if you have a question about this specific grant, under your resources, you will see the phone number and an email address for the person you can contact to ask a question. Give the departments a few days to respond, because they're going through a lot of mail that comes through. So let's say, and it's also business days. Okay, so if you emailed on Friday, Saturday, Sunday doesn't count because no one's going to be able to get back to you. So give them at least 48 to 72 hours. If they have not responded to you, feel free to reach out to us, and then we will, connect you with them. Okay. With that said, going back to the search real quick, you are going to do, let's say I put climate here. I don't want to have to come back here and search for this every single time. Okay. So you can save refinement right here, right above underneath the find grants. You're going to save refinement. Basically what it does is it drops a cookie in your browser, and you can come back and it's going to search for the same criteria you've already saved. Okay. If you do clear your cache, it is going to go away. So you have to resave it. Just note that. Okay. A couple other features before I hand over to the next presenter. The subscribe here is very important. If you don't want to come to the portal and look for new grants every single day, you can sign up for the digest in your email. So basically what it does is it gives you a daily or weekly option. You can select a category or newest grants. So it's not and, it's or. So if you selected newest grants and environmental water, you're going to get a duplicate email in your mailbox. Okay. So you want to do either or. Newest grants means anything without the category tag. And then if you want a category, then you select the category only. Okay. So you can set up for notifications. You can also contact us by going to contact and filling out the form, or emailing our mailbox right here, caggrantsportal@library.ca.gov. Again, give us at least 48 hours to respond. We're pretty quick at it, but sometimes we do get a lot of them, so we have to go through all of the questions coming in. So with that said, if you have any questions about the grants portal, how it runs, anything that you don't see on the portal from the grants perspective that should be on the portal, you can let us know. Email us, fill out the form, one of those, and we can get back to you right away. With that, I'll hand it back to the team and for the next presenter.
Thank you very much. Our next presenter is from the Strategic Growth Council.
Hi, everyone. Adrienne Moretz from the Strategic Growth Council. We're part of the Governor's Office of Land Use and Climate Innovation. And today I'm going to be talking about two opportunities: our Affordable Housing and Sustainable Communities Program, which we've abbreviated AHSC, and our new Factory-Built Housing Program. But first, just a quick note about who we are. We're a 10-member council. We're comprised of 7 state agencies and 3 public members, and we coordinate collaboratively across all of those state agencies and state government as a whole. We also work with public agencies, communities, and different partners across the state to achieve sustainability, equity, economic prosperity, and quality of life for all Californians. And since 2008, we've distributed over $4 billion in frontline communities across the state. And we do this through a number of initiatives you see here on the screen. We have a variety of grant programs, policy initiatives, and we support capacity building and technical assistance. So to dive into both of the programs I mentioned, first we'll talk about the Affordable Housing Sustainable Communities Program. We established it in 2014, and the goal is really to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And we do that by financing projects that include affordable housing, transportation, urban greening, energy efficiency, and community programming. And by creating holistic, affordable developments that encourage walking, biking, public transit use, these projects have been really influential in changing development and land use patterns in California to foster equitable and sustainable communities. And throughout the duration of our program, we've distributed almost $4 billion in this program alone, with 17,000 affordable homes being built, a lot of greenhouse gas reduction, and many, many miles of new and improved bikeways. So some of the requirements of the Affordable Housing and Sustainable Communities Program: the developments should be shovel ready and ready to complete the project within 5 years. We do prioritize partnerships, and we do have specific set-asides. So I did hear at the beginning that there are some tribal members participating in the call today. We do have set aside for tribal affiliated projects. We have set-asides for transit-oriented development projects, rural projects, and we like to fund projects in different geographies across the state. And so what does this program actually fund? First, the developments themselves and related infrastructure. So think of on-site energy storage, infrastructure approvals. We can provide grants and rental project loans. This project also funds sustainable transportation infrastructure and amenities. So you can see on the screen things like bus shelters, bike parking, sidewalks and crosswalks. And then we have a variety of different programs within that can also be funded. Here is just a visual of an example of what a project could fund. So you have the development itself, you have some bus shelters, you have the transit vehicles, sidewalks, and bikeways. So really a comprehensive development. We also have a lot of partners that help us put on this program. We work very closely with HCD, the Department of Housing and Community Development, as well as CARB, the Air Resource Board, and we work with technical assistance providers. So to just dive into that a bit more, we use a portion of the funds to work with technical assistance providers to help with capacity building. We know that applying for grant programs can be strenuous, and so we do our best to support that. The technical assistance works to help inform jurisdictions on the program, how they can bring local communities together, and how to create a winning project. And the TA also helps recipients develop local capacity to be competitive in this program. We do have technical assistance available specifically for tribal members, rural representatives, or what we call DAC, disadvantaged communities. So if your community is interested in this technical assistance, I encourage you to check out this program. And just to touch on the timeline here, I do want to note that we do have the round 9 draft guidelines published right now. And as soon as I'm done speaking, I will share the link in the chat to the website for this program. So the draft guidelines you have the opportunity to provide feedback on before they are fully published for the program to open for applications next spring. And in this time frame, we do plan on having statewide workshops. So this is a very high level overview, but if you're interested in learning more details about the program and how you can participate, how you can get more information on technical assistance, for example, we would encourage you to attend one of those virtual statewide workshops. Again, I'll share the link in the chat so you have more opportunity to learn about that. And then to quickly touch on the factory-built housing program, through the Inflation Reduction Act, the Department of Energy Loan Program Office was given authority for loans and loan guarantees. But this funding expires in 2026. So most of that funding through the federal DOE is realized through something called Title 17, and that provides financing for projects that support clean energy development, deployment, and energy infrastructure. So we, as the Strategic Growth Council, were designated a state energy financing institution, and that means that we saw an opportunity to build new or expand energy efficient housing. And we created a pre-development fund of about $12 million to support applicants in applying to that federal DOE pot of money. So this is an opportunity to address the urgency of housing and take advantage of this federal funding in the very near term. And this is funded through the Affordable Housing and Sustainable Communities program that we just spoke about. And I want to just bring up the timeline here. As you can see, we had a round of this program that very recently closed. However, this is a rolling program, and until the funds are fully expended, those $12 million, we will continue to make this funding available. So I would keep your eyes out. I will share the link to this program in the chat as well. Funding opportunities will become available fairly soon. And just to quickly touch on eligibility, the most basic eligibility requirement is at the very top of the screen in deep blue, which is you have already passed the federal DOE's one of that Title 17, and you're in the process and getting ready to apply for Part 2, and that's where we come in. So because of this, the majority of the requirements aim to follow those DOE program and complement those requirements, so we're not putting an extra burden on communities. There are also 6 threshold requirements that you can see on the screen that we consider. So we consider Justice 40 to make sure this benefits communities that are most impacted by climate change. They're energy efficient. The applicant actually has the capacity to implement a program like this. You choose the appropriate sites, and you have agreements with community members. And then we have a variety of scoring criteria. Again, this would all be available in the guidelines on our website. And with that, I'll close and leave it to the next presenter. I'll share a few links in this chat here. Thank you.
Thank you, Adrian. I'm so glad you were ready because I skipped the State Water Resources Control Board, so they're going next. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Sarasa. I'll go ahead and get started. So good morning, everyone. My name is Brenda Polly, and I work at the Division of Financial Assistance. The presentation today will give a brief introduction to the many grant and loan programs here at the State Water Board. I do encourage you to visit the CFCC handbook for more details. So the State Water Board has several wastewater funding programs that provide funding for planning and construction projects to restore and maintain compliance with waste discharge requests and PDES permits. Grants are available for projects benefiting small disadvantaged communities, and priority is given to septic to sewer projects. Some of these funding programs include the Clean Water State Revolving Fund Program and the Water Recycling Funding Program as well. The State Water Board also has numerous drinking water funding programs that I will discuss in the next few slides. In terms of long-term solutions, the State Water Board does provide funding for drinking water infrastructure projects needed to achieve or maintain compliance with Safe Drinking Water Act requirements. Grants and low interest, grants and low interest loans are available, and priority is given to projects that address category A through C or consolidation projects. In addition, we do have funding for lead and service line inventory replacement. And some of the programs that we administer are the Drinking Water SRF Revolving Fund Program, the Expedited Drinking Water Grant Program, and lead service line replacement funding program. The State Water Board does fund interim solutions that address urgent drinking water fund needs. Eligible projects include bottled water, hauled water, well repair, well rehabilitation and replacement, vending machines, point of use devices, emergency interties or treatment systems. State small water systems and domestic well serving disadvantaged communities and low income households are also eligible. And some of the programs that we administer here are the Cleanup and Abatement, Urgent Drinking Water Needs Program, county-wide and regional funding programs, and emergency drinking water / cleanup and abatement funding as well. Moving on to drinking water for schools. The State Water Board also provides funding that benefits daycare facilities, preschools, and K through 12 schools. These programs fund POUs or POEs, treatment systems, fixture replacement, installation of drinking water fountains, and provision of interim drinking water supplies. These programs are typically administered by nonprofit organizations, and some of the programs are Bottled Water for Schools grant program and Drinking Water for Schools grant program as well. So domestic water wells and households for drinking water. The State Water Board does provide funding that There are several State Water Board funded drinking water funding programs that are administered by counties and nonprofit organizations. These programs do provide funding to individuals or households served by domestic wells or state small water systems to address water quality issues. These programs are domestic water wells and state small programs and the drinking water assistance for household. The bipartisan infrastructure law, also known as the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act of 2021, provided the US EPA with about billion over 5 years to support water infrastructure, environmental cleanups, and clean air projects. And the State Water Board received 4.3 billion of those federal funds to supplement our funding pots. The Emerging Contaminants Funding Program does provide funding towards projects that reduce people's exposure to PFAS substances and other emerging contaminants to their drinking water. And these are administered funding sources via the Drinking Water SRF funding source and Emerging Contaminants in Small and Disadvantaged Communities Fund. And as for technical assistance, this is available to support drinking water and wastewater needs. Some examples of these project types that technical assistance or TA can assist with include funding applications, project planning and administration, engineering and environmental services, legal assistance, rate studies, income surveys, capacity building, and emergency response for drinking water only. Priority is given to the small disadvantaged communities in accordance with our drinking water and wastewater funding priorities, and requests are accepted continuously. Funding programs for site cleanup. The State Water Board has several site cleanup funding programs. There are grants for cleanup of site contaminated by leaking petroleum underground storage tanks. If there's no financially responsible party that's there to address it. So in addition to this, we also have grants and loans to assist small businesses or UST owners and operators to come in compliance with regulatory requirements. And some of the programs that we administer are the Orphan Site Cleanup Fund, Senate Bill 445 Site Cleanup Account, and the RUST program as well. For non-point source program, the projects that we fund here are to reduce and mitigate the effects of non-point source pollutants such as sediment, pesticides, and nutrients to the water of the state within priority watersheds. Interested parties for this type of funding should reach out to the Regional Water Board for assistance in how to apply for that funding. And some resources here. I'd like to point you to, our links here at the State Water Board. All of the programs covered in today's presentation are also included in the CFCC handbook. The Division of Financial Assistance webpage does contain some guidance documents and contact information and a fact sheet if you have any other questions. To stay informed, you can also sign up for one of the State Water Board's email subscription lists. Please look for this sign up at the Division of Financial Assistance website. And then finally, many of the programs offered under the State Water Board, including the Drinking Water SRF and the Clean Water SRF, use the Financial Assistance Application Submittal Tool. This is a web-based interface that you can access 24 hours a day, and the Fast Help Desk is available Monday through Friday from 8 to 5. So feel free to call or email the Fast Help Desk. And I think that kind of concludes my presentation. If you have any questions about the funding program outlined, please join us at the virtual breakout session today, or you can reach out to the DFA General Inquiries line at the number presented here. And yeah, on behalf of the State Water Board, thank you for your time and attention, and I look forward to chatting with you at the breakout session.
Thank you, Brenda. I appreciate that. That information that you provided for us. Our next speaker is from RCAC, and they'll be presenting their information, how they can help you.
Hi, everybody. Give me 1 second. I'm going to pull up my presentation here. Hey. Hi, my name is Richard Strezzo. I'm a loan officer from RCAC. And today we're going to be discussing our particular program. You will see some of the people have spoken, they're talking about grants. Often there's a requirement for bridge financing required in order to reach the grant. So generally, not everybody, I'm not speaking to everybody, but sometimes the grant's not given until a project is completed. That's where we sort of step in and help out these different communities. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to sliding all over this place with all the uses. see. Everybody can see my presentation, correct?
That is correct.
So RCAC, Rural Community Assistance Corporation, is a 501c3. We're a non-for-profit organization. We operate in 13 Western states and Pacific Islands. We serve Indigenous and rural communities through training, technical, financial assistance, and advocacy. So back to that, you're going to hear the term quite often. You've heard it with the grant people's technical assistance. Important thing to understand, because a lot of times that's what helps you structure and prepare yourself for the grants and or potentially the bridge loans that you would work through us. We provide financing for affordable housing, community facilities, water, waste infrastructure. As you can see, there's been some discussion on the water and waste here as we've been discussing. There's also some of the technical assistance I mentioned with classroom and online training. I actually have a business owner right now. This one, we also do CA loans and other types of loans for small businesses. And he required some, in order to be funded, he had to go through one of our online training to help him with his financials. And I can see income surveys. Income surveys, cannot say exactly what that is. I'm new here, by the way. I've only started about a month ago, but I've been doing commercial lending for about 20 years. And again, I'll highlight a few of these areas, and as I mentioned, TA assistance may be available to help your community. So the technical assistance types, again, some of the theme I like to focus in on is funding application assistance, which it's a big part. In lending, often we discuss having a package. So there's an application, but an application in and of itself doesn't, I always describe it as 3% of what needs to be done. The rest is the package, which is where technical assistance will help you putting together things that you need in order to apply for financing. The technical assistance also helps with financial analysis, helping figure out cash flows for your needs, ratios, structuring your financials to help out with your community or your business. Policy development, regionalization, community outreach, training, and again, income surveys, as you can see. So one of them that we have is, and this was touched upon by some of the grant people's environmental infrastructure loan program. And basically we have certain eligibility requirements. So water, wastewater, and solid waste, which was discussed in the previous presenter, must be in a rural community with populations less than 50,000. And it must be serving low-income community. Quite often, low-income communities, those you might know, are basically banking deserts, if you will. It's very difficult to secure financing or loans because of the lack of choices. And that's where we step in. The product and the programs that we have are extremely competitive. Borrowing eligibility. Again, not-for-profit organizations, government entities, federal or state recognized. This is for the environmental program, recognized tribal entities. So we drafted a couple examples just to talk about, but the revolving line of credit is something that would be used in those bridge financing scenarios. And so in this particular scenario, as you can see, with the proper structure through the technical assistance, we ended up funding a loan, a revolving line, as we call it, revolving line of credit, of $2.5 million. And that was a term for 18 months, interest only at 5.5 fixed percent. Security is the grant anticipation note. So that's where the technical assistance would help as well to make sure we're connected with the proper entity that is going to supply the grant upon completion. What I'd said a little bit earlier, that often there's a bridge financing component needed for those particular grants. Here's an intermediate loan. This one's pretty interesting too, is as a purchase of and an installation of $100,000 gallon water tank. And at this particular case, it's a $402,000 project. So that particular project, it was a term loan for over 10 years at 5.5% fixed. I'm sorry, that's a little confusing. It's 6 months interest, only followed by 9.5 interest. So it's 5.5, excuse me, for that interim. I'll mention real quick at the in this particular scenario, you notice the securities promissory note, UCC filing, and security agreement. So often, again, in rural communities, the access to finance and banking is limited because they're, again, I mentioned sort of like banking or financial deserts, and that's what we step in. So this particular transaction, if you were looking at it from the perspective as a commercial bank, a $402,000 loan that basically is unsecured. A UCC filing and security agreement's not enough. In their minds, that's unsecured. That's why these transactions are very difficult. Well, because we're mission driven, these are the items that we would need and would fulfill our mission and hopefully help your community. And in conclusion, this is we are the contact people. Myself, Richard, I take care of Northern California, basically from I'm going to say roughly Santa Cruz up to the border, maybe a little bit farther south, and Barbara takes from that point downward. And we're going to have a breakout session as well. And if you have any other additional questions, hopefully I can help you out with, and we'll put everybody in contact and put everything in motion if there's any need or assistance you'll have.
Thank you, Richard. I appreciate that information. As I say, I encourage all to go and ask any kind of questions in the breakout rooms, because that's where you'll find you can just talk one-on-one. Our next presenter, of course, is from iBank. And they always have money.
Thank you, Sarasa. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us today to learn more about the California Infrastructure and Economic Development Bank, also known as iBank. My name is Lina Moller, and I'm here to share today with you how iBank might be a good fit for your infrastructure projects. The slide deck, as Sarasa mentioned, will be available on the CFCC handbook and the CFCC website, so please don't worry about taking any notes. After the presentation, please come and visit us at the iBank breakout room for questions you may have. We'll have loan officers available as well to speak about and discuss your specific infrastructure projects. So let's get started. iBank was created in 1994. The main purpose was to provide low-cost financing options for eligible borrowers for a wide range of infrastructure projects. We are a state agency. We are housed in the Governor's Office of Business and Economic Development, also known as GOBIZ. Just a quick note on iBank's current focus areas. Number one, we are focused on creating and preserving jobs, expanding access to underserved communities, being inclusive and intentional in who and how we serve Californians. And we're also focusing on addressing climate change. We're expanding our role in climate financing, investing in and enabling projects that are addressing the climate crisis in a meaningful way. Here on the slide, you can see our core programs. And due to time constraints, we're only going to focus on the purple icon, which is the ISERF program, or what we call our direct loan program. If you would like to find out more about our other programs, please email us or visit our website. And just briefly about the other divisions within iBank, we have a climate financing unit, which includes loans for projects that help the state meet its goals for greenhouse gas reduction, water conservation, environmental preservation, and other climate-related projects. We are a general purpose conduit bond issuer, facilitating issuance of tax-exempt or taxable bonds for various public or private sector projects. So we have a bond unit, primarily working with projects, a wide range of projects, including certain housing components. We have a capacity to issue large projects over $1 million as well. Unlike our infrastructure loans, which are direct lending, We also lend to small businesses with the help of FDCs, or Financial Development Corporations, to offer loan guarantees for small businesses. The Small Business Finance Center also has various other programs that help small businesses, but its main program is the Small Business Loan Guarantee Program. We also have a venture capitalist program, which is a newer program under iBank. All these programs have their own landing sites on our website, and you can get some detailed information on the projects that have been financed, what the terms and conditions were. Our website also has the board documents and staff reports for these various projects, so it's very informative. Let's talk about what are eligible projects under the ISEF loan program. All types of local governments are eligible. Cities, counties, water districts, JPAs under some circumstances are eligible as well. Our ISEF bond monies are tax exempt. We can do most of our loans are tax exempt, but in certain situations, if you've got a large project with a small component that's taxable, we could look at that as well. We would just fund those with our iBank equity funds. Any project costs associated with the project, including designing, planning, construction, rehab of a project infrastructure, would all be eligible. The key point is that our projects must be in the state of California. We can fund soft costs and all hard costs included in the project. The one project type that's not eligible under the ISEF loan program is housing. We can do all infrastructure around housing. For example, roadways, water, wastewater, streetlights, landscaping, all of that would be eligible, but the actual housing construction is not eligible under our government code. So how do we determine if a project is eligible for an ISEF loan? Firstly, we would look at the cash flow of the project. Our cash flow is based on annual financial statements from the local public entity. We look at 5 years. We also look at 5 years of projections. Projections become meaningful when we're looking at water and wastewater projects, particularly where you've got rate studies that have been done and rate increases have been put in place to pay for projects. So we will consider projections as well. Our loans, as I mentioned earlier, are typically tax exempt, but we can do taxable loans as well. There are two types of repayment sources. If the repayment source is an enterprise fund, so for example, if you've got a water project or a wastewater project, or even if you've got a transportation fund for a transportation project, we would take a pledge on those fund revenues directly. So that would be our security. If the repayment source of the project is the general fund, examples of those projects are typically fire stations, police stations, roadways, city office buildings, city halls, etc. In that circumstance, we take a leased asset. Our financing structure is what we call a leaseback financing. And the leased asset is any unencumbered asset that the city or the local government owns. If the project itself is to be the leased asset, that is the project that's being built is being the leased asset, in that circumstance, capitalized interest does come into play. A borrower's resolution is required, and that includes reimbursement clauses that allow you to include costs that you incurred for the project up to 60 days prior to the resolution date. Here are some examples of projects that we've done recently here under the ISEF loan program. As I mentioned earlier, any subdivision of the state or local government, including departments, agencies, cities, counties, special districts, are all eligible borrowers. We can do JPAs and nonprofits, but under the right circumstances. With JPAs, we want to make sure there's some historical revenue, and that the members of the JPA remain in the JPA for the term of the loan. The first picture you see up there is for a project we did for the city of Watsonville. This was a SB 1383 project. As you know, that is related to the processing of organic waste. The project consisted of a new landfill that included a green and wood waste processing plant. And it also included a piece of equipment, which was the landfill compactor. The solid waste fund was the repayment source for this project. The Encinitas project is called the Leucadia Streetscape Project. And this project included enhancing of crosswalks, raised medians, roundabouts, bike lanes, and increased parking options for the city, including drainage improvements and new stormwater infrastructure. The repayment source for this project was the general fund, and so 2 leased assets were taken as security for this project as part of a lease-leaseback structure. We built a fire station for the Tiburon Fire District. The fire station was a 5,000 plus square foot 2-story fire station building at the existing location of another building that was an older police station that was demolished and a new one was built. We do a lot of water projects. More than 50% of our portfolio is water, wastewater. We did the most recent approval was a wastewater project for the city of Santa Cruz. $26 million was approved for a sewer rehabilitation project and for a treatment facility headworks rehabilitation project. The financing term for this project was 30 years. And another project I want to highlight was a project for the city of 29 Palms. This was a $1.3 million project for a 25-year term loan. The project included purchase and installation of solar panels and associated infrastructure on various city-owned buildings. This was a general fund project, and leased asset was city-owned buildings. I want to highlight a number of benefits of working with iBank. Why would you choose iBank for your infrastructure loan? We do work in a very streamlined manner. We conduct a preliminary review and provide feedback to you. You'll be working with an assigned loan officer, and we do a financial analysis, and then we present it to our internal credit risk committee before we invite you to apply. So you do save time. We have technical assistance as our loan officers work directly with you and answer your questions on all aspects of the project, timeline, and the process of our underwriting and final loan approval and closing. With the ISAP loan program, you can receive 100% financing. Most of our projects are 100% financing, but there are circumstances where projects are being funded by a portion of grants that are coming up, or the borrower itself has a strong balance sheet and wants to contribute towards the project cost. So a number of multiple sources of financing or funding could be included in your project. The one caveat is that when we take your loan to the iBank board for approval, we want to be sure that the other sources are in place, or you've got term sheets at a minimum, so we can look at the whole project as a whole. You also receive low fixed interest rates with iBank for terms up to 30 years. We provide interest rate subsidies based on 2 main criteria: community-based subsidies, where you can get subsidies if you are in an underserved community area or designated DAC, or your median housing income or unemployment rate are at a disadvantage when you compare that to the state levels. Another criteria for subsidies are environmental or climate-related subsidies. If your project has components that are directly combating climate change, mitigation, conservation, energy savings, and looking at climate disaster projects, trying to mitigate climate disasters, those would qualify you for subsidies under the environmental criteria. The total interest rate subsidies available under both criteria is 50 basis points. So 25 basis points is the maximum you can get for environmental subsidy and 25 basis points for community-based subsidies. We are AAA rated, so our cost of funds tend to be lower. We issue our own ISOP bonds. Our bond unit issues these for us. These are tax-exempt monies. Since we are AAA rated, our cost of funds tend to be lower, and we pass those savings on to you. We also do not run out of money because we have these bonds that we issue, and from time to time, when it's getting close time for us to issue bonds, we then do what we call bond anticipation loans, where we use our own equity, that is the equity that's on the IBAC balance sheet. We use those funds to fund projects. And then when we issue bonds, we just take those bond funds and reimburse ourselves. So we don't really run out of money. We don't have application windows. We don't employ any scoring mechanisms. It's a first come, first served basis. And we have a policy where we make sure that there's complete transparency every step of the way in our process and our timelines. Thank you again for being here today. I want to leave you with our contact information, and want to reiterate that our website is really well organized and planned. Each of our IBAC units have our own landing page, which takes you to information about each of the programs, and all our staff reports are posted on our website. You can see examples of our staff reports, what type of projects were done, what kind of interest rates were available, and you can contact us directly through the website as well. I look forward to seeing you in our breakout rooms. Thank you.
Thank you, Nina. We appreciate that. Our next speaker is from the Governor's Office of Emergency Services.
Hello, my name is Michaela Benici. I'm an environmental planner with the Hazard Mitigation Technical Assistance Division at the Office of Emergency Services. I will be talking specifically about hazard mitigation assistance funding opportunities. As a previous presenter mentioned, the entirety of my agency does have other funding opportunities, including Homeland Security, recovery from disasters, etc. But I will be focused, and they have their own landing pages as well. But again, I will be focused here on hazard mitigation assistance. I am the Technical Assistance Division is pretty new. We had our first hire December of 2023. The majority of our hires were in April of this year. We are still pretty brand new, but our focus is on helping, we aim to reduce long-term risk, promote climate adaptation, and fortify infrastructure. And our mission is to empower communities, including those historically underserved. We provide one-on-one assistance with eligible jurisdictions to create sub-applications and apply for federal funding. So within the resiliency life cycle, or the emergency management life cycle, hazard mitigation is between recovery and preparedness. Hazard mitigation is any sustained action taken to reduce or eliminate long-term risk to people and property from natural hazards and their effects. And FEMA and Cal OES are focused on long-term impact, focused on mitigating the long-term impact of natural hazards. And that distinguishes our work from other parts of emergency management, such as preparedness, response, and recovery. And hazard mitigation explicitly breaks the cycle of damage in California communities. A little bit more on mitigation. So California faces a lot of threats and hazards that present long-term risks to people and their property, including wildfire, earthquake, flood, high heat. And mitigation is a risk management action taken to avoid, reduce, or transfer those risks. And hazard mitigation is the only emergency management phase specifically dedicated to breaking the cycle of reconstruction and repeated damage. Some of our eligible activities include planning grants to deliver a FEMA-approved local hazard mitigation plan. We help fund new plans, or they're eligible or they're active for 5 years and then they require an update. So we can help fund the creation of a local hazard mitigation plan or the update. Planning related activities, including integrating the local hazard mitigation plans into other planning mechanisms, doing outreach and education for your community, informing them of the hazard risks in the area, or flood management. We also fund project scoping activities, which if you have a mitigation problem, but a solution is not known, we can help you get funding to evaluate potential intervention, including hydrologic studies, ground other geotechnical studies, or floodplain mapping. And that aims to create a shovel-ready project to reduce or eliminate risk for damage. We also can help fund shovel-ready construction projects, including elevation, reconstruction, drainage improvements, flood control, and we do prioritize nature-based solutions. And nature-based solutions include, but are not limited to, the restoration of grasslands, rivers, floodplains, wetlands, dunes, and reefs. We have seen several living shoreline projects as well. Here are a few of the eligible mitigation activities. We are able to discuss with you specific project ideas or additional eligible mitigation activities in our virtual booth, but here's a quick overview. In wildfire, hazardous fuels reduction, vegetation management is very popular. Same with drainage improvements and pump installation for floods. In earthquakes, structural and non-structural retrofits. And for severe weather, we see a lot of power redundancy generator projects. So we have several programs within hazard mitigation assistance. We have the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program. This is available after major disaster declarations, but we do take notices of interest on a continuous basis. To get an idea of the available funding, if you guys remember the winter storms in January 2023, that was disaster 4683. $186 million became available due to that disaster. And January of this year, we had 475 disaster number 4758. And so far, their estimates around 20 million available for that. And we have HMGP Postfire, which is an annual program that comes out at the beginning of October. That prioritizes communities impacted by wildfire to mitigate fire and post-fire hazards. We also have flood mitigation assistance and BRIC, building resilience in communities. And those are annual programs funded by Congress. They are usually open at this time, but there has been a slight delay due to congressional funding. FEMA has been prioritizing response funding, but we should see those come out in the next couple months. And FMA Swift Current is a newer program that is activated by a flood event. And last year we had 20 million available. These funding opportunities fund long-term standalone solutions to reduce risk to people and property from natural hazards. For a majority of them, there is a 25% non-federal match, so a local community will need to provide 25% federal match. There are some exceptions that may have a 90-10 or 100-0 split, but we can discuss that in the virtual booth, or we always encourage local jurisdictions to set up project scoping calls with us to discuss potential projects, funding, timelines, etc. And then who is eligible? So for the majority of our funding opportunities, state agencies, local governments, including counties, cities, towns, special districts, federally recognized tribes. For all of our programs, those entities are eligible. And for HMGP and HMGP post-fire, private nonprofit organizations are eligible as well. The entity applying must have a FEMA approved or locally adopted LHMP, except for the private nonprofits, which just need to be located within a jurisdiction with an active one. I know that is very specific. Again, if you have any additional questions, we have the virtual booth open where we can talk one-on-one about your situation. The resilience branch kind of has 3 steps. We have the state hazard mitigation plan that provides an overview of California's disaster history and landscapes and assesses hazard risks throughout the state of California. It is a very long read. I believe it's like 1,500 to 2,000 pages, but you can skip around and just see what hazard risks are in your area. We also have local hazard mitigation planning, which provides one-on-one technical support to all communities to write or update their local hazard mitigation plan. And then I am part of the technical assistance team. We assist with project scoping, identifying projects and possible solutions to mitigate hazards in your community. And we provide support to submit sub-applications to FEMA that are eligible, feasible, cost-effective, and competitive. One of our success stories is the Lick Observatory. This underwent significant wildfire risk reduction, including vegetation management, infrastructure improvements, and enhancement to the access and egress routes. The pre-disaster mitigation funded project was completed in 2005. It cost approximately $860,000. During the 2020 SCU Lightning Complex fire, the area was affected. Cal OES completed a loss avoidance study based on that fire, and the fire burned nearly 400,000 acres and caused $26 million in damage. The losses avoided to the Lick Observatory and the surrounding area was calculated at approximately $73 million. So the effect of a less than $1 million project was significant, and we see on average a 1-to-7 ratio. So for every $1 in mitigation, it's $7 of loss avoided. And just to illustrate where the Lick Observatory was within the fire, you could see it's right there in the outskirts. And on the right, you could see a nighttime photo of how the fire was creeping up to the Lick Observatory. Me and my coworker, Kyle Tyson, will be in the virtual booth to answer any questions, any inquiries, or if you'd like to schedule a meeting with us, a project scoping call, you can reach us at hma@caloes.ca.gov. We also have a listserv here with the QR code, and our website has information on each funding program I spoke about today. Thank you.
Thank you for that information. We really appreciate it because California, as you say, is forever having some type of disaster. Our next presenter is from the Department of Water Resources.
Hi, all. Good morning. Hope everyone is doing well. My name is Gabriel Edwards. I'm a senior environmental scientist at the Department of Water Resources, or DWR. And today I'm just going to give you all a quick brief overview of DWR's active funding programs. So just want to touch on general eligibility first before I get into specifics. So usually our grant applicants must be either tribal governments, nonprofits, or public or local agencies. I have a quick list here for that last one: public and local agencies, state agencies, cities, counties, mutual water companies, et cetera. The main reason I'm putting this up here is because usually we don't have funding for private landowners or individuals, and we get a lot of inquiries about that. But generally, that's not something that we are, or those are not eligible for our grant programs. If you're interested in any of our funding programs, I highly recommend checking the program guidelines to see if you're eligible, or you can always contact the funding program directly just to confirm eligibility requirements. So the best resource for information about DWR funding programs is our grants and loans website. It looks like this over on the right, and there's a link and a QR code. This lists our active funding programs, and it has links to various funding resources. So we've got the specific DWR funding program websites themselves. We've also got links to the California Grants portal. And then both the California Grants portal and the funding program websites have application submittal info, eligibility information, those guidelines that I was talking about, as well as contact information for that specific funding program. And again, you can always just contact the funding program directly to learn more about how to apply or the various requirements for the program. This is a list of our current funding programs that I'll be covering in the next few slides. First up, we've got the Riverine Stewardship Program. So this program supports fish passage and ecological improvements for streams. There's a little under 7 million available, and applications are accepted until all of these funds have been expended. Eligible applicants include tribes, local public agencies, and certified nonprofits. And then this program is limited to counties within the Association of Bay Area Governments, which you can see on the map here in the black crosshatch area, as well as the Delta Export Service Area and any areas outside the Delta that receive water from the State Water Project or the Central Valley Project, water that's got by means of diversions from the Delta. So a little bit of like a geographical limit there, but this is outlined in the program guidelines as well. So projects eligible for this program must support habitat restoration and green infrastructure designs and solutions that improve water quality and supply. The project must be consistent with Water Code Section 79205.6. I have a couple examples here. We've got habitat restoration and improvement efforts like gravel injection. There's also fish passage solutions that remove barriers to fish migration or otherwise improve fish passage. And then we've also got improvements to water conveyance within riverine habitats. Next, we've got the Urban Streams Restoration Program. This program provides funding for restoring streams impacted by urban development. There's a little under 10 million remaining. Applications for this are also accepted until all the funds have been expended. This is eligible to partnerships of 2 applicants, so there must be a sponsor and a co-sponsor that applies to this, one local public agency, tribe, or certified nonprofit, as well as one local community group. And then there's a list of example projects: daylighting of streams, bank stabilization, native vegetation, all that kind of stuff. And there's also planning-only grants for projects serving disadvantaged communities as well. And then an important thing to keep in mind with this program is the project must include a public education or outreach component. And then finally, we've got the Stream Gauge Improvement Program. This one's pretty specific. This funds public entities to improve stream gauge infrastructure in order to bridge data gaps, and it supports the reactivation and deployment of priority stream gauges. There's 7 million available, and applications for this one are going to be reviewed and evaluated monthly by 5 p.m. on the last business day of each month until December 31st of this year. So that's when the program will ultimately close. So it's like 2 rounds basically of reviewing at the end of November and then December 31st, and then the program is closed. Eligible applicants for this include public agencies, special districts, and federally recognized tribes, as well as any public entities that have adequate or consultant expertise and qualifications to install and operate a stream gauge that yields robust data. So our funding programs are always subject to change. So I highly suggest either checking the DWR Grants and Loans page that I was sharing earlier, or checking the California Grants portal regularly for up-to-date information. And you can always go to the California Grants portal and filter it for DWR funding opportunities. That will give you a list of DWR grants, including the ones that I talked about today. And then we have lots of additional resources and information on our website, and there's links to those resources in the DWR slides that are on the CFCC website that have been uploaded. from this presentation today. If you have questions about any of our funding, please email funding@water.ca.gov, or you can always feel free to reach out directly to me or to Leslie Peters at DWR, and we'd be happy to answer any questions about funding or put you directly in touch with the appropriate funding programs at DWR. So yeah, that's the end of my presentation. Look forward to speaking with you all in our breakout room at the end of the funding fair. Thank you.
Thank you, Gabriel. That was very great information. Right now, we're going to have a small 10-minute break. My clock has 10:26. We'll come back at 10:36. And so this is the time you have an opportunity to stretch your legs and go get another cup of coffee or whatever beverage you like. So let's come back at 10:35. My computer clock says it's 10:33, so you have about 2 more minutes before we're going to resume our event today. I have 10:35, so I'll give you about 60 more seconds to return, and then we'll start with our next presenter. Okay, everyone. I hope you were able to stretch your legs and get something to nourish yourself. So our next speaker is David White. He's from the Bureau of Reclamation, and he will start sharing his screen.
Well, thank you very much, Sarasa. And let's share. Just give me one moment, move a few things around, and let's go. All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is David White. I'm with the United States Department of the Interior, Bureau of Reclamation, based out of Sacramento, California. Today, I'll be giving two back-to-back presentations. The first one is on using grants.gov to search for and apply for federal funding. The second presentation will be specific to the Bureau of Reclamation's Water Conservation Program and how to apply funding for water conservation projects. Let's begin. Grants.gov. Three things we're going to talk about this morning: understanding the federal funding agency, searching and applying, and tips for applicants. The federal funding agency. Each federal agency is different. Each has its own mission, its own goals, and its own internal expectations. You have projects that may fit with one or multiple federal fund agencies. Your projects could be eligible for funding. And so one thing that you can do is to tailor your project to specific federal agencies. Understanding each agency's missions and goals will help you tailor your project to be more successful in the application process. One way you can find out about each agency is through its own websites and ways of communicating with the public. The other is through these NOFOs. A NOFO is a notice of funding opportunity. And the NOFO will give you details about that particular agency, as well as points of contact. We're undergoing a transition right now to a new administration. I don't think grants.gov is going to change under the new administration. However, under the new administration, federal agencies may pivot a little bit in some of their focuses. We'll see. We'll talk more about that in the spring. Grants.gov. All right, so the funding is here for your project. The federal government does not know what kind of projects are out there. So what do? We post a NOFO and see who applies. What does that mean? Well, it means you might need to tailor your project a little bit toward the criteria and the expectations and the objectives found in the NOFO to make your project more competitive. Money is competitively awarded through these NOFOs to ensure that there's fair and open competition. When you go through grants.gov, you'll notice that NOFOs are categorized as forecasted, posted, closed, or archived. And we'll go through that in a moment. Previous NOFOs can give you insight into current and future NOFOs, what agencies are looking for, things that are important, particular projects that may or may not be eligible. And it gives you just a better idea of how to more efficiently manage your time and your own resources. And because the NOFOs contain criteria, you can actually score yourself to get an idea of how competitive you think that particular project might be. Now, the face of grants.gov does change a little bit. The pictures may be a little bit dated, but this information stays the same. There's lots of information on grants.gov for applicants, for support, on how to stay connected. You can do things like have a custom email notification where grants.gov will send you emails notifying you of new NOFOs that meet search criteria that are important to you. After this, after my second presentation, we're actually going to go into grants.gov and we'll do some quick searches so that I can walk you through it. So you can search for grants. You can search by keywords. You can search by opportunity numbers. You can search by what's coming up in the future, forecasted, things that are current right now, posted, things that have recently closed, or the NOFOs that are more older than closed. Those would be the archived. You can search by particular federal agencies. There's many different ways of searching. Now, can you search by particular state? No. I don't know if that function will ever be available, but you can't search for opportunities limited to the state of Wyoming or West Virginia or whatever is of interest to you. Within the funding opportunity, there are lots of documents. There's standard forms, SFs. There's a full application package with instructions to talk you through it. You can download it and you can work on it offline on your desktop or whatever device you use. And then later on, you can upload it or you can work on it in the cloud. The NOFO has goals. It has objectives. It has important information, usually all that's summarized in a synopsis, second page. And it gives you an idea as to when the NOFO is open and closed. What's the agency? Is there a non-federal cost share that you are responsible for? How long will you have to complete the project? The NOFO will also contain criteria. This is our way of being open and honest with you as to what we're looking for, and it gives you an idea of how well your project might be. The application packages we talked about before has lots of information in it. You can download it. You can work on it offline. You can work on it online. And if you have any questions, there's always a point of contact, either with the agency or the particular funding program, or with the agency with someone in the financial assistance division. Then you can submit it. Most people now submit online. It's guaranteed more so than maybe through the mails, but you can submit your application online. And there's lots of information on tracking your application as well as demonstrating you did your part to apply on time. Please pay attention to times. Some of these NOFOs close Eastern time. Some are Mountain. Some are Central. Some are Pacific. Most likely, they're not going to say 12 o'clock p.m. or a.m. because there can be a robust discussion whether or not those times actually exist. So now they usually just pick like 1 o'clock p.m. So there's no doubt what they mean by that. So you'll get these confirmation messages. You can track it. A few tips for you to keep in mind. The earlier you register and submit, the better off you'll be in case something happens. Please read and follow all the instructions provided by the agency. These instructions are here to help you have a successful application. Fill out those standard forms first. Include sufficient program and budget details. If there are optional forms, we highly recommend that you complete those. Please keep in mind that your project will be evaluated based solely upon the information in the application. The application review committee is not allowed to do research on your entity or on the project or even the concept of your project. We're limited to the 4 corners of the document you provide us. The more direct your answers are, Most likely, the more successful you'll be. If we ask you a yes or no question, answer yes or no, and then you may explain. Tell a little bit of a compelling story about your project. Why is it important to you? And why is it important to the agency and the agency's mission and goals and objectives? There will be a limitation on how big your application can be. We're looking for magnificence, not mass. Now, Bureau of Reclamation, water conservation, funding opportunities. Reclamation operates in the 17 states west of the Mississippi border states. We also have a few projects in Alaska and Hawaii. We're divided into 5 different regions. Here in California, we're part of both the California Great Basin region as well as the lower Colorado Basin. Here are some points of contact in the 2 regions, the LCB region and the CGB region. Any of these folks will be happy to answer your questions and work with you. And if we can't answer your question, we'll find someone who can. Funding opportunities through reclamation basically come from 2 pools. Water Smart, which is funded through our Denver, sort of like our federal office in Denver as our manage of America's resources for tomorrow. It's Water Smart. And there are many, many, many different programs within Water Smart. Here in the CGB region, we use local funds to fund at least 3 different NOFOs, sometimes every year, but not always. We have a water use efficiency for both urban as well as agricultural projects. We have one specifically for agricultural projects. And then we have one through our Native American Affairs Technical Assistance Program that Kevin Clancy helps to run. I summarized most of the Water Smart programs right here. I will drop only these slides into the chat so you have it available. It gives you a summary of each project or program, point of contact, in general, who are the eligible applicants and the federal, non-federal cost share. Now, the eligible applicants can change from program to program. As you'll notice, for the water and energy efficiency grants, the WEEG, it actually does include America Samoa, Guam, the Northern Mariana Islands, the U.S. Virgin Islands, and Puerto Rico. But not all programs include those regions and islands. Some eligible applicants must have water and delivery power authority. Others don't have to. So depending upon your particular agency, you may or may not be an eligible applicant for each particular program. We have a full suite of programs toward water recycling. And we use grants.gov to post our NOFOs. In general, most of our NOFOs require a 50% non-federal cost match. That can come from a variety of sources, including loans and state grants. Usually, states, tribes, and irrigation districts, water districts, and other entities with water or power delivery authority are the eligible applicants. But as we've seen, sometimes that's not a requirement. We do a competitive process through grants.gov and an application review committee. Now here in the CGB region, as I mentioned earlier, we have our Bay Delta CalFed water use efficiency, NOFO, which is for water conservation projects that can be urban or agricultural. We also have one specifically for on-farm water savings that we run with our friends at USDA. As we talked about earlier, some advice and insight. Read the whole NOFO. If you have any questions, be sure to ask. Be sure to understand that we're limited to the information that you tell us through your application. Your non-federal cost share can come from a variety of sources, including some of the other agencies that are presenting here at the CFCC. It's best to copy a question and answer it. And it's best to answer yes or no, and then describe thoroughly, if you want to, your answer. If you don't say yes or no to a yes or no question, then it leaves it up to the application committee to answer yes or no on your behalf. Not all projects or applications are successful. If you would like to talk about your application, you can do that. We will schedule a debrief with you and talk about what could have made your application more successful. But success varies from year to year because we don't know the other projects that will be applying. And we don't know how many applicants there will be. lots of a few resources and additional information out there for you. And again, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact us. Now, I'm going to stop sharing for just a moment, and then we're going to share something different. So hang on. All right, let me see if I can do this again. Hold on. And right there. Here we go. And share. Okay. This person is excited to do another search on grants.gov. Let's join them. So if we come up here to search grants, we can search for all sorts of stuff that you didn't even know was possible. I started typing in stuff this morning, such as olive oil. Believe it or not, there is a NOFO on olive oil. Wow. So if you ever want to just do something different, you can get on grants.gov and start searching. You can search for, I typed in earlier today, groundwater map. Nothing came up because I probably missed, oh, in that particular order. So if we take away the quotes and we just do groundwater map. Now lots come up, 35 in the future, 248 posted right now, over 2,000 closed and almost 12,000 archived. And you can see the agencies do have acronyms, and I saw DOI BOR, that's Department of the Interior, Bureau of Reclamation, Small Surface Water and Groundwater Storage Projects. I didn't even know about this, and it was recently posted. So if you click on it, it will take you to the synopsis for the entirety, where you can see about the eligible applicants, some additional information about the funding agency, point of contact. You can talk to Ned if you have any questions. And then if you wanted to apply, you could go down to the package. Then you can download the package. And there are other related documents to help you. Here's the full announcement. And it's a great way. So grants.gov, by typing in different search terms, you will find stuff that you didn't even know was out there. So sometimes it is worth your while just to get on grants.gov, type in a few keywords and see what happens. So that's my presentation for both. I will be in the breakout room if you have any questions. And before the CFCC, this funding fair is over, I will be sure to drop into the chat the Water Smart table that I showed you. So thank you very much, everybody. Let me try to stop my sharing.
Thank you, David. I appreciate that, all that overview of grants.gov and the information that you provided. Our next two speakers are from the U.S. Department of Ag. One is from the Rural Housing Service, and the other one is from the Rural Development. So I'll will turn it over to them. Again, it's the U.S. Department of Agriculture.
Hey everybody. This is Marcos Ramos from the USDA Rural Development Community Facilities Program. We are, hold on, here we go. Today we're going to go over our Community Facilities Program. I work out of the Santa Maria field office. So here's a quick overview of everything we can do. So community facilities is pretty broad on what we can do. If you can think about what your community needs, we can probably help fund it in one way or another. Here's some quick things we can do: hospitals, health clinics, schools, daycares, firehouses, first responder vehicles, emergency equipment, community centers, and more. So we have direct loans, loan guarantees, and grants to develop or improve essential public services and facilities in communities of less than 20,000 people for direct loans and grants, and for guarantee loans and grants up to 50,000. Eligible applicants are public bodies, nonprofits, Native American tribes. Fiscal year 23, we had a total of 109 million obligated, 38 projects throughout rural California. Here's a quick overview of our loan rates and terms. Interest rates are currently at 3.875 fixed at the time of loan approval. 38-year term or useful life of project. We require adequate security and collateral, repayment ability and feasibility, and you must be unable to obtain other credit. Here's an example of a project in Newcastle for their fire protection district. The total project cost was $4.75 million. Our USDA loan was $3.78 million, and the applicant contribution for this project was just under $1 million. It was funded in 21 and completed in 22. Here's a overview of our grants. So eligible applicants, similar to our um, direct loan program, are public bodies, special districts, nonprofit corporations, and federally recognized tribes, population of 20,000 or less. Applications are accepted all year long. Maximum grant of 50,000. Example, we have healthcare equipment, police and fire equipment, public buildings, transportation, and infrastructure. Here we have displayed a mobile library for Butte County, but we've also done police cars, fire rescue vehicles, equipment for, fire apparatuses and stuff. So we've done a lot with this program. Here's just some other ideas of projects to get your mind going. In King County for their fire department, we got them a Jaws of Life. Golden Plains Unified School District, they got distance learning equipment. City of Mendota, they got 2 police vehicles. In Heber Elementary Unified School District, they got a cafeteria freezer. Cahulia Indian Reservation Fire Department equipment, they got utility truck and tanks. Butte County, the library you guys saw a picture of. Long Valley Charter School, they constructed a new school. City of Clear Lake, they got an animal control facility, and we've done a few of those throughout the state. Auburn Interfaith Food Closet, they got a new food bank. And City of Huron, domestic violence and homeless housing. So we have USA staff up and down the state to help you. We have 17 field offices, and I think all except for 1 or maybe 2 are filled at this moment. You can find us in our contact information online, or you can contact me specifically, and I can get you in contact with who you need to know. Assistance under USDA rural development programs is available to applicants in areas designated as rural. Under law, the definition of rural is different for each program. Contact your local USDA rural development office for more information, or go to rd.usda.gov. Receive emails. You can register your email here, and you'll get emails notifications for different things that we do. Thank you guys for your time, and we'll be in the breakout room.
Our next presenter is also from USDA, so they're going to be sharing what they have. Edgar, are you here? Well,
Were you able to see my presentation by any chance?
Not yet.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me?
I can hear you and I
Okay.
can see you, but I didn't see your presentation.
Oh, okay. Let me start sharing. Can you see it?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Perfect. All right. Hi, good morning, everybody. Well, thank you for joining us today. My name is Edgar Ortega. I'm the load specialist for the Rural Utility Services Water and Environmental Program, and I'm here to introduce an exciting funding program that aims to improve the quality of life in rural areas by ensuring our access to clean and reliable drinking water, sanitary sewage disposal, and effective stormwater management. I'm gonna go a little bit fast just because of the time, but if you have any questions, I can always stop in and I can meet you at the breakout room. What we're going to go over is going to be the program overview, eligible criterias, eligible areas, types of funding, funding utilization, and long-term interest rates, and as well as additional requirements. Uh, First of all, these are programs that we have in the water and environmental programs, water and waste disposal loan and grant, emergency community water assistance grants, colonial grants, Native American grants, search grants, and pre-development and grants called the PPGs. All right. We'll start with the Water and Waste Disposal Loan and Grant Program. This program helps you provide essential funding for ensuring clean and reliable drinking water and stormwater drainage for households. The eligible applicants for this program will be state and local governments, private and nonprofits, federally recognized tribes, and the eligible areas are going to be in areas less than 10,000 in population, tribal lands and rural areas, and the type of funding, as you can see, we can offer long-term low interest rates, grants if necessary to keep the users, costs reasonable. And also if the funding is available. And also to use this fundings, you can think about for drinking water source treatment, sewer collections, solid waste collection disposals, stormwater collections. The rates that we're handling right now are going to be the designated, but they are manageable rates. Loans can be repaired over a period of 40 years, depending on the useful life of the finance facility, and the fixed interest rates are determined based on the project's necessity and the median household income in the area. Pretty important, that part, because I want to go over it. The borrowers, just so we can think of additional requirements to obtain these loans, the borrowers must have legal authority to construct, operate, and maintain the proposed facilities. Facilities must serve a public purpose. Partnerships with other federal, state, and local private are encouraged as well, and the project must be financially sustainable. As you can see, every of the rates are right here, indicating the market rate 3.875, intermediate rate 3.125, and the poverty rate 2.37. For grant eligibility, the location of the population served must have certain MHI limits. As you can see here, there is a limit of up to 45%. This is the MHI limit, and up to 75%. The MHI limit goes up to 64 for 436. This is the next program that we're working on, is the Emergency and Community Water Assistance Grant Program. This program is designed to assist communities in dealing with emergencies that impact the availability and quality of drinking water. Whatever it is, preparing an imminent threat or recovering from a disaster, this is the program that you're looking for because it provides the necessary funding and support to ensure the safety and reliability of water supplies. The next program that we're going to talk about is the Colonial 306 grant. This one aims to provide safe and reliable drinking water to services of low-income communities facing a significant health risk. The areas must be located within 150 miles from the U.S.-Mexico border. The area is recognized as colonias. Here for California, all colonias are going to be in Imperial, in San Diego, and in southern Riverside counties. The residents must face a significant health risk due to the lack of access of adequate, affordable water or wastewater disposal services. The next one is going to be the Native American 306 grant. This also aims to provide the safe and reliable drinking water for low-income communities facing significant health risks, with a focus on Native American communities. The area served must have a significant health risk due to the lack of access to adequate, affordable water, and the customer base needs to be comprised at least of 50% tribal members and meet the per capita income and unemployment rate requirements. Just that you can see it here in the slide. Okay, the next one is going to be our search grant. This one assists very small, financially distressed rural communities with pre-development, feasibility studies, design, technical assistance, and proposed water and waste disposal projects. Who can apply for this one is going to be most state and local government entities, nonprofits, federal recognized tribes, and for the areas as well. This program serves rural areas with a population of 2,500 or less, areas with the minimum household income below the poverty line, or less than 80% of the statewide non-metropolitan medium household income. Um, this is very important because the funds can be used to pay for pre-development planning costs, including feasibility studies to support application for funding our own water and wastewater projects, and the designs of the engineers as well. It can even provide for technical assistance developing the application of one of our programs, so they can even help you out so you can apply for this one. Okay, so next one is going to be the pre-development planning grants. It's called the PPG grants. So these one helps out low-income communities plan and develop applications for the proposed USDA rural development water and wastewater projects. You know, the grants cannot be used to pay for anything that's already completed. This is going to be basically so you can start providing us with the application and everything that has to be awarded from the total grant eligibility. So the USDA direct loans grants then can also have a combination on loan grant, and you can actually start applying with this one. So our application process, these are our recommendations that you start doing if you want to apply with us. Start building the community support for the project, mainly because you are going to need it in your project to have initial desire of completing a project for the community. So I recommend having that community support first. I would do welcome an initial meeting with us, with the USDA staff. And then after that, we can also provide you with the guidance for the preliminary architectural review. I mean, preliminary engineering review, I'm sorry, and the environmental. And that way you can complete your application via RD apply. And then after that, we can issue the letter of conditions, obligate the fund, and disbursement of funds. So you see, very easy process that we can do it. This is the new program that we're doing. RD Apply is an application into system that allows you to apply for loans and grants for rural utility services grants. This one I like it because you can create an application, upload attachments, sign certifications, and draw service areas. I mean, some of these options that we have now, especially with the new technology, is going to make it a little bit more efficient to go ahead and apply for our programs. No more paper applications, just electronic submissions. This is a quick example that I want to give you of one of our projects that we use the Colonial Grant, because this one combines Colonial Fund and our regular WEP grant. So this investment was to replace both existing wells with the two new wells and repair the existing water storage tank that you can see here in the picture for the community of Ocotillo, located in southwestern Imperial County, bordering San Diego County. This one is going to be the project to improve the wastewater treatment plant and construct the ponds for the wetlands to discharge the treatment water services. As you can see, this is a way better project that it actually affected this community, and we went and go ahead and help them out with the combination of CDF as well. And this one, as you can see, we have another program like Marcus said, the community facilities program. Well, this one, as you can see, this is the effort of both of these programs. And this is just a fantastic example of how USDA funding programs can work together. You know, it doesn't matter if you apply for community facilities and then the web, we're here to benefit the community. So this project just I mean, I can illustrate the collaboration between even our USDA agencies and programs, and that way they can just support the community infrastructure. I'm sorry. Okay, so as you can see, this is our website. I recommend that you go in there and so you can find us, and the little arrow points out where our programs are. We have 17 offices that can basically help you out and give us a call. As always, I recommend that you just give us a call directly, and that way we can start managing your project and see if you have anything else. Thank you for your attention, and I'll see you at the breakout rooms.
Thank you for that. Before we open up the breakout rooms, we have a request from iBank. They want to have the speak again. So Lena, the stage is yours.
Hi, Sarissa. She's coming over right now. Um,
Okay. She's coming, all right.
oh, she was just needing to be let into the meeting. That's it. Sorry about that.
Oh, okay, no worries, no worries. Okay, great, thank you then.
Thank
That
you.
was our last presentation, and right now we want to open up, put the link to our online survey, and there's a QR code for everyone. So we would appreciate it if you take just a few moments to fill out the form. I think it's a few questions, and then that will allow those agencies to go into the breakout rooms and start setting up. So just take a few moments to take the online survey give it some feedback about your time today. And that link is in the chat. And at the same time, I'm going to open up the breakout rooms so that the presenters can go into their respective agency rooms. The breakout rooms, once they're open, you can see that they're at the bottom of the page. There's 4 little they're open. There's 4 little squares at the bottom. I'll show you. Let me share my screen. That's the survey. At the bottom, there's this 4 little squares at the bottom. You just click on it and then you just join. Again, we want to thank you all for attending today's event. We appreciate it. Again, as was brought out, we have them twice a year. We have them in the spring and in the fall. Our next one won't be until spring of next year.